The Ryan Tubridy Show on RTÉ Radio 1, sponsored by Sky Broadband. Unlimited broadband so you can download, upload and stream as much as you like.
And it's a very good morning to you all. Ryan Tubridy with you this Friday morning. Glorious Friday morning in Dublin, Ireland, I have to say, outside. It's the 8th of May 2020 at 9:04. We're with you till 10 a.m. and again later on tonight on the Late Show, which is a busy one. But for now, we've also got a very busy morning. Ordinarily, I'd get stuck into the papers and see what's happening in the world. But I have a guest I want to introduce you to straight away without further ado. Bono, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to talk to you.
Always nice to talk to you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just curious to know what you think, looking around at the... Let's go with the nation first, looking at Ireland first on the 8th of May 2020. Beautiful Friday morning ordinarily. What are you looking at? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking how this whole pandemic, which was supposed to be, the great leveler, is really the opposite. Mm-hmm. And, my circumstances are just incredible. I'm out looking over the sea, spoiled, rotten, magnificent view out the window. And I'm thinking a lot of people who just are stuck at home, can't get out, thinking about the leaving cert, our boy John. To have some certainty is a really great thing, because there's not much certain about the world right now. And I think that's what's going to be announced this morning. I heard him screaming out the window last night, so I think he thinks it's done. But people will have mixed feelings. But yeah, it's like we're not all in the same boat, but we are going through the same storm, I suppose. You went through it, and we all want to serve in our different capacities. Volunteerism is up. And
how do you volunteer? I know that you and the band have donated €10 million to the acquiring of PPE and other things like that, which was generous in the extreme. Is that what you want to do? And I understand you were doing deals, is that right, with South Korea, that kind of thing? How did you go about cutting deals and make things happen, shift things along?
Well, first of all, I should say I'm not doing enough hoovering at home. I am quite good at the hoovering, I thought, and beds are not being made well enough, has been explained to me. But on sort of national service,
yes.
Early on I was trying to think how I could be useful. And, with One and Red, we've been involved in fighting the pandemic that is HIV for 20 years. And so we know a lot of people, and I got a call from Pascal Donahue, the finance minister, to just talking about how I could contribute, and I thought, well, probably the best thing is figuring out how this PPE procurement would work out. And the band are a little funny about public philanthropy, because in the end it's part self-promotion. So we've always been wary of it. We're not very American in that sense. It took us a while, but we wanted to do something serious and show solidarity with the frontline medics, but not just the carers, but everybody who's out there. And it seemed that I could probably work well off my wits, and I knew a guy called Liam Casey who's like, do you remember, he's like Scotty in the engine room of Starship Enterprise, that fella.
Yeah, it can't take much more, Captain, yeah.
Yeah, he's like Indiana Jones. It's like the Raiders of the Lost PPE. It's a really extraordinary market out there, and people are getting, just pushed out of the way, and countries are being pushed out of the way by all manner of vendor. And I just thought, well, this is what we can do. We have relationships with some people in China, and was encouraged by Paddy Cosgrave to call the guys in Alibaba. We called Tencent. We called people in China. I know everyone was calling everybody, and Kenny was involved. Everyone was just trying to make sure that we would prioritize, that we wouldn't be stuck without those masks, without those gowns. And we were. It's really difficult. And so I managed to, with the help of Liam Casey and the help of the band, to get, when it's finished, it'll be about 20 million masks. They're called the 2-or masks. That were the HSE are looking for. And Paul Reed was incredible on this. And I think we'll have 300,000 masks, goggles, a different kind of mask, actually, the KN95, 300,000 of them, 100,000 visors, 100,000 goggles, and I think we've 30,000 gowns coming. So we've it's a small contribution in truth, but I think we could just about afford it, so we did it.
What about when you watch the news at night or listen to the radio, whatever, and you see the frontline workers heading in and out? A lot of them working very, very crazy hours and seeing a lot of things. I heard a report this morning about how upset people are getting at the constant, it's a relentless sort of task that they have at hand. What do you make of those people heading straight back into the burning buildings every day, essentially?
Yeah, they're the people we went to work for, and that's, I've seen those looks before, but never at home in Ireland. And it's a different level of courage. And I think, when we surface from this, the world was going to have changed. And I hope one of the things that will have changed about it is, our view of who are the most important people in our workforce. And it's not even just those nurses, doctors, and care workers. It's the taxi drivers who drove them there. It's the people who stacked the shelves. I mean, it's turned this thing kind of upside down, and I'm grateful for that. I think everything is going to be new, and we need to think differently. And we have a new politics has got to come into into our life, and we have to think about. Making sure that everybody feels included in that. And, I think it's the end of Civil War politics with this coalition. That's amazing, 100 years after all that. I mean, we would need a reset anyway. And it's the right time for our country to reimagine things.
It is remarkable. I was saying that to Leo Varadkar, was on the Late Late Show with us last week, and I was saying to him, when you think of it, I think of the history books and all our grandfathers and stories about, because obviously everyone in Ireland had a grandparent who was in the GPO that day. And looking at, here they are now, all these years later, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, holding hands and heading into an uncertain future. But I just didn't know it was going to happen in our lifetime.
Yeah, well, countries are just the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. And I think Ireland's story is much more interesting than the one we even think, and tell ourselves. We're a much more diverse country, going back pre-Christian times. I mean, all this, synthetic history I'm fascinated with, and the myths and the legends, and now recent DNA has suggested that, the Celts go back to northern Spain and northern Africa, and our music comes from around there. We're much more diverse, much more pluralistic society by DNA, and I'm suspicious of nationalism. My father taught me to be suspicious of nationalism. I don't know, was it Singh or O'Casey who said, what is Ireland but the place that keeps my feet from getting wet? That was my dad's. My dad thought that nationalism got in the way of patriotism. And if you really loved your country, you should think bigger than it, which is why I'm committed to Europe, and I love the idea of Ireland playing a leadership role in Europe, as tiny as we are. So, when we get out of this, there's a lot to look forward to. and it'll be brutal the next few years. I know that. But we've done it before. We've showed discipline. We've showed how smart we were. And, you know, the people paid a terrible price in the public sector, paid a terrible price for the mistakes in the private sector going back in, you know, the end of the zeros, 2007, 2008. It wasn't fair. It was unjust. But the people did an amazing job. And it was just, I just didn't feel like the prosperity was as inclusive as it should have been, and that's going to happen soon. So whether we like it or not, I think things are going to get flatter, and that's good.
Let me ask you about, you just mentioned music there. What are you thinking about gigs of the future? I mean, are we talking about 5 years' time we can go to a concert, or do you think that it'll be social distance concerts, whatever that might mean? What are your thoughts on that, Bono?
I don't know. Maybe I've got a son here in the house.
Yeah.
The band are just raring to go, and they booked a tour. They were ready they sold out 2 nights in the Troubadour in LA. They're flying. They're really something. The only thing that annoys me is Elijah keeps telling the press that his dad is Noel Gallagher, but they're an amazing band, and they are every day, you know, kicking the walls, just trying to figure out how can they get out. They got all these new songs. I think it will be very different for a while, and I heard discussion of sort of drive-in theatre type shows.
Oh, yeah.
Outside of stadiums, you've got these big car parks, so setting up drive-in movie theatres where you have bands playing live from their rehearsal room into cities. There's all kinds of ideas out there, but gratefully, I'm at home, and so are the rest of the band. We've been touring for a lot for the last years, and it's time to give our audience a break, and it's come at the right time.
Your timing was pretty good. Were you tired by the end of it all? Did you feel like you needed a battery charge?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, we haven't learned to phone in the shows, you know, so they're full tilt for us. Sure. And you know, it's a sort of immersive experience getting in and out of those songs. So yeah, I'm really enjoying, you know, writing, reading. I'm making lists. I know I'm making lists about lists.
Yeah, tell me about the list. Like, what's on the list? What are you planning?
I mean, it's everything. You know, people to call, books. You know,
books to read.
Songs. I've got I'm doing I have a top 40. You can have it if you want.
Yes, please.
Of favourite Irish songs at the moment.
Give us an idea of some of the tunes in that mix.
Ooh, well, I mean, there's everything from the Fontaines. Recently, going back to the great Shane MacGowan. I mean, it's timeless. Van Morrison, Tin Lizzy, you know.
Why did
Damien
you?
Rice, Glenn Hansard, he was 50 last week. He's a great mate. We love him.
He was, and you're 60 on Sunday, right? I mean, are we allowed to mention that, or is that the great unspoken, or is it just too public now for you to care?
I think, you know, I was actually going to have a quiet birthday anyway. I was going to just go for a long walk. That was the plan. A bit of a pilgrimage, just the family. Mm-hmm. But I mean, people are giving up a lot more than their birthdays. You know, people are cancelling their weddings, funerals. Think about that.
I know.
So it's not really the moment for a big celebration. I'm just grateful that I got here, and I'm really grateful to the people who got me to where I am, and the band, and my family, and my mates, and the country, who gave us, you know, you two, an incredible life, and you know, and allowed us to be able to afford to be useful in this moment, which is, you know. So I want to thank the country for putting up with, you know, my sometimes avuncular self. But I'm feeling pretty meditative now and reflective and just giving thanks, really.
Did something happen in your life in the last, say, 3 to 5 years that made you do a personal or physical audit?
Yeah.
And what was that?
But I'm sort of, there's a few things, and I'd rather not get into it. I mean, people have enough, to be thinking about. And
No, I just ask curiously because I just get the sense reading about you, and I mean, I don't know you particularly well, but reading an interview here or there, or whatever, I got the sense something, and again, I'm not prying as to what happened, but I get the sense that you've been very reflective about the world. More so, I know you do that anyway, but just particularly in the last number of years.
Yeah, well, you do come across, your own mortality. It happens to people at a very early age or later, the loss of a relative, or can happen to you personally. There's just a moment where you realize you can't, just drive yourself into a wall and expect the wall to crumble. Ed used to say to me that I looked at my body like it was an inconvenience, and I needed to, get fitter and, sleep more and just, I was traveling a lot. I have a few jobs, so I've got U2, but, one is preoccupying a lot of my time. Red, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, we're so worried that if this microbial hitchhiker should cross the equator, and has crossed the equator, but if it should cross the equator with the same vigor that it has hit cities like Milan or New York, I mean, think about Lagos. I fear for Lagos or Mumbai, where we ended our last tour. There's one of the biggest ghettos in the world, Jarmis, there, which is, I think it's like 1.3 million people. They can't self-isolate. So I am holding my breath and my hands together in prayer for what could happen south of the equator. And, if there's been some great leadership actually in Africa on this, but they don't have the resources, they don't have the health systems in place in a lot of these countries. So, I had a lot of jobs, and I think I probably need to take some stuff, off my desk. And I'd like to spend more time with my kids. They're incredible. Eve is an amazing actor. Joe is an amazing activist. John, as I mentioned earlier, is doing the Leaving Cert. Is just, we call him Little John. I mean, I call him Little John because he's 6 foot. But I want to be around and see Ali and more. And really, in that sense, being locked down. Has worked out great for us. I mean, we still like each other and want to be in each other's company, though, I can see the younger ones want to get out and meet their mates more. But as regards my own sort of personal pilgrimage, I'm still on it, and I haven't come up with all the answers I would like. You'll be speaking to a sage later on. I will. Adam is joining us tonight. Adam Clayton. There's a man who is who's just got a lot of wisdom to offer the world. And I was thinking back to Sydney when we played with Zoo TV, Sydney, Australia, and Adam didn't make the show. It's the first time a member of U2 didn't turn up, and he, his demons had got control of him, and we thought it was the end for U2. And we went through, we filmed it, and his bass tech, Stuart, stood in for him and saved the day. But what's really extraordinary to me is watching Adam Clayton's progress. We're talking about the Pilgrim's Progress. Yeah, there it is. It's just an amazing thing. I mean, somebody said, if they don't open the pubs, the nation's is going to develop a drink problem. In our house, we stopped drinking midweek. Yeah, well done. That's Wednesdays, and we're trying to keep things light, but there are questions I want to answer about my life and work and how it can be useful. That's our family prayer is, to be useful.
Are you?
The band always thought too.
Of course. Are you useful? I mean, you mentioned that you're pretty ropey at hoovering and doing the beds. The shake and vac is clearly not out. But what are you doing all day? I mean, are you doing quizzes, like Zooming quizzes, like all of us? Are you baking? Are you? What are you? How are you killing the day?
Well, I mean, again, I'm sprinting in the marathon, and we've got. I mean, the people who won and Red, they're on overdrive because of our fear of what's happening south of the equator. Mm-hmm. And, I also, the IMF and the World Bank had meetings there a couple of weeks back, and there was a new debt cancellation bill for the poorest countries. And I had to, work on that sort of 12 hours a day in prep for that, and just making sure that these countries get proper representation. So I put on my one uniform and I go and I speak with President Macron or Merkel's people. She was really great, actually. Isn't she something at this moment? Just that she exists in this moment is just a great relief. Whatever you think of her politics, just that calm. Mm-hmm. So she's been really good. And then even, trying to deal with the Americans. And
how's that going?
It's tricky. I mean,
you had access all areas with down through the years with Clinton, President Clinton, even President Bush. Again, as you say, depoliticizing it for a moment, and also obviously with Barack Obama, and then Donald Trump arrived in, and different story for you guys. I mean, have you met him? Have you shaken his hand? Would you?
No, I haven't.
Would you like to?
But I've dealt with Steve Mnuchin, who's been very courteous with me and is weighing up what has to happen if we're to prepare for COVID catastrophe south of the equator. So he's at least in the conversation. Yeah. That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. And people have showed up. But I'm not sure it's front of people's mind. Because of what's going on in their own lives and their own countries. But in 3 months, if we don't do prudent things now, in 3 months' time, your television sets are going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of awfulness.
Yeah.
And we actually know what to do, and there's no excuse now. So that's what I've been doing. So I'm not. I mean,
You're working.
We play card game.
Yeah.
We chase each other around the tables. We make music. Families been making music together. But no, then I go back to work.
Let me bring you back some. I just want to play the first few bars of this song. And I think this is one of the first pieces of music you ever heard. And I want you to bring us to Baby Bono. You're probably about 4, I think, or even younger. And you heard this somewhere on the radio, and you must have. I just want to get your immediate reaction after I play the first 5 or 6 seconds of it.
That's the tippermost to the toppermost to the pippermost to the poppermost.
All the way to the top.
Yeah, no, I remember I was lying in the back of Cedarwood Road on the grass. My dad had just finished cutting the grass, and it's my first sense of not just music and pop music. I was 3, I suppose, but just the feeling of being really alive, and being alive and thinking it's a really good idea to be alive.
Okay.
So actually I'm making a list of my top 60 songs. At some point I'm going to put them out.
I want to hear it. But the Beatles obviously did something for you and to you, and obviously that was important. And I want to play this, but again, another little clip of the song. And the reason I'm going here is because it's a very specific moment in this man's career that you know only too well. And it just, everyone had kind of written him off, and then he came back for this NBC special in '68 and did something like this.
If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place. If you're looking for trouble, just look right in my face. I was born standing up and talking back. My daddy was a green-eyed mountain jack.
I mean, come on.
Oh,
Bono.
you know, on one of my lists, I have Andreas Bocelli.
Yeah.
Segueing into Elvis's Heartbreak Hotel and then into Johnny Cash's Hurt. And it's the whole opera, isn't it? I mean, you don't think of Elvis, you think of him as rock and roll, but I love the opera of him. And the courage of this dude, you can imagine he's 16 years old, he's wearing green eyeshadow, he's a truck driver. He's wearing these clothes in Memphis. It's not like he's in L.A. or New York. He's in Memphis, a truck driver. It's just stunning to me. But I mean, you know, I've got 60 years of music to reflect upon, and some of it is even recent. You know, I mean, that Billie Eilish song, "Everything I Wanted." When I listen to that, I'm just completely. I can't look away. Or Hosier. I mean, what about Hosier?
Yeah.
What is this? He lives down the road. The quietest storm that ever blew into town. I mean, he's this gentleman
really.
with a gigantic soul, and there's rage in that soul too. Yeah. But he has that thing that people have, raging souls have. He has that politeness, that sweetness to keep it down. He's something. I mean, we've got some incredible people around.
The texts have come in by the thousand, and all saying well done and thanks for all the stuff you've done with the band as well. But there's one whimsical one from Alan saying, could you ask Bono the question everyone is wondering, and we'll leave you alone then. Is Matt Damon sleeping on your couch, and if so, is he helping with the housework?
Matt Damon? Well, look, everybody has... most of us have been trying to dodge Matt Damon since
Contagion.
He's Johnny No Mates, isn't he? And actually, this it's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known him for a long time. He travelled to Africa with One. He co-founded Water.org. You know, he followed through on all that stuff. He's an incredible human being. His family are. Yes, they are close by. But I'll tell you one thing that really annoys me about him is all the locals here have voted him sort of sexiest man in Dalkey, which I find offensive. And when I go in there and I go, well, what is that all about? They said, oh yeah, he's been posing with a super value plastic bag. Yeah. And I'm like, what's that all about? He carries stuff in a Bono. He walks around, he swims. He used to do the shopping before he got locked up. So, it's great that, and it's great, I think, confidence. He's showing confidence in the country.
Yeah.
He could have left.
Sure.
He said no. He sees the madness that's going on in his own land, and he loves it here.
Yeah.
And, he's a proper person.
Listen, you have a lovely day on Sunday. Happy birthday. And to you and Ali and the family, can only wish you good health, lots of happiness, and we look forward to seeing you on the other side.
Just one thing.
Sure.
How are you?
Oh, 100%. I had a tiny brush with the thing, and it came and it went, and a bit like yourself, I had 2 weeks to look into my soul, and it was time well spent. Well, it's a beautiful blue-eyed soul, and keep doing what you're doing. The art of conversation's all we've got, and you're a master of it. You're a gentleman for saying so. Listen, mind yourself. Thanks for your time, Bono. Bye. Best of luck. Best to you and the family. That's Bono and the boys, and gosh, that was the most enjoyable encounter with Bono. That came as a little surprise to us this morning, but we were very happy to have the chats, and he has so much to say. Very just bright and insightful person, I have to say, off air and on. And happy birthday to him on Sunday, and lots of love from on the text this morning. Thank you, Bono, and you too. Always do Ireland proud. Welcome to the 60s club, says Eilish. Great interview, and that gave us all a lift, says Garrett and Derry. Good, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Beautiful interview, says another. Great listen as lockdown wears thin. Yeah, I can understand what you mean with that. Amazing, enjoyed that. Glued to the radio for that half hour and singing loudly now. It's a beautiful day. Proud to be Irish. Great, delighted to hear that. And hello to Bono from Ethnic Coffee in Killarney, who shares the same same birthday. However, I'll be 70, says she. Bono, says others up there with the great philanthropists of the world. Bill Gates, George Soros, Jeffrey Sachs, Cardinal McCarrick, Bill and Hillary Clinton. We should be really proud to have him. He's a true patriot, says Mary. He's done so much good work for Ireland over the years. A decent human being. Blessed to have him as our roving ambassador for the last number of years. Happy birthday to you. And loving Bono, says Shane, giving an inhaler a big up on the show. They're a young band on the up, and their tour has been decimated by the virus, as has indeed every other band who has a tour planned. Yeah, difficult one. All right. Thank Bono and the band. About time we thank them for what they've done for Ireland, says Marion Ryan. And Kate in Cork says, just when I thought I couldn't love Bono and U2 anymore, what a service they've done for their country. And a happy birthday to him. Absolutely. And by the way, there are other people who have big birthdays. Margie Mullen. Don't forget Margie Mullen. She's 90 this Sunday. Doesn't put a foot out of bed until this show is over. So a loyal, lovely listener, Margie, with love from her grandchildren, Declan and Catherine and Brona and Paula, and 3 great-grandchildren, all the gang, children and grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Looking forward to meeting up to raise a glass in her honour for being a wonderful mum and nanny and great nanny. So happy birthday indeed to you. And would you wish my grandson Finn McGlade a happy birthday on the 10th of May from my daughter-in-law Kathy Hempelstall on the 13th of May, my son Austin on the 14th, and my dear sister Kathy Walsh in Limerick on the 15th of May. And that from Teresa McGlade. Happy to the lots of May babies about the place, which is good news. And another, please mention our mother Rita Rafter, who's 100 years old today. Good Lord, she has lived on the North Circular Road for the whole 100 years of her life. Her bedroom window looks out onto the magnificent Croke Park, which has given her wonderful years of pleasure, especially in her later years, watching out her front window at the throngs of people coming from all over the country with their young families to attend the matches in Croke Park. And that is from a Croke Park lad. So Mary, happy birthday to you, Eileen, Carmel, Kate, Mary and son Will. That's lovely. 100 years. Good news. You'll be hearing from the President at some point. Another says, I'm delighted to hear Bono. I've always been a fan. My dad, long since gone, worked in the building industry and worked in Bono's house about 35 years ago. He gave all the lads working on site a signed copy of Rattle and Hum that Christmas. It's an heirloom that I'll be passing on to my kids from Niamh, living in Waterford, but always a dub. What a lovely thing to do. And a sign of the guy, to be honest with you. The Museum of Literature Ireland, Molly, Novel Teens, is starting a twice-monthly writing masterclass by young adult authors. That's a good one for teenagers. Dave Rudden, who's a great guy, great author of Knights of the Borrowed Dark series, kicks off the first online video this afternoon. So get busy, lads and lassies who are interested in writing, the teens, novel teens. So go to molly.ie if you want more information on that. You'll get it all there. Okay, we better take a quick break.